Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Welcome, thank you so much for joining me. Today we are doing the second video in this series of stamping for beginners. The first video was pretty much all about inks. I don't even know if I stamped anything. In this one, we're going to talk about using the inks with stamps and actually stamping and different types of images, different types of stamps, how they come out, why things work and don't work. Many of you didn't start out with the Stampin' Up! Parties where they teach you how to stamp. So we'll start from the beginning, and feel free to leave comments, ask questions, message me on Instagram. If you don't want people to see it, that's okay too. And I'll try and work those into this series. Zelda, you're not invited. I'm going to start with woodblock stamps because if you picked them up at garage sales, or maybe you have them sitting around and you forgot, and then we'll do clear stamps. If we have time, we'll get to heat embossing, but I've already gotten so much stuff out, I'm not sure. Okay, so the first thing is you pick your stamp, right? Say you have some of these woodblock stamps and they've been around for a long time. What you want is when you pick it up, it should have some give. If you're at a yard sale or a thrift shop or something and you find one of these, this one is fabulous. This is All Night Media. I think they made pretty good stamps. It has some give to it. Doesn't have the date, so maybe it's not that old. This one is Personal Stamp Exchange, PSX. These have been around for a long time. This is one of my all-time favorite brands of stamps. We don't have time to discuss that right now. This one, it doesn't give quite as much, but if I push on it, it does give. This one is also a PSX. These are from, I don't know, this one's from 88. I don't know what year this one's from. It is not the age of the stamp that matters. For example, this one's 2001. It's fabulous. It is how they were stored and treated. You will hear people on YouTube that say, oh, you have to clean your stamps and take great care of them. No, I don't do that. My stamps are still wonderful. I'll show you how I clean stamps. But if stamps were maybe cleaned with some chemicals or they were stored in a hot attic, they can get dried out and they're probably not coming back from that. There are some more advanced techniques that we're not going to get into that may save it, but I'll show you the difference. Okay, same brand. This one, still a little squishy and soft. We'll use this. You'll see this stamp works great. This one is hard when I touch it. Listen to the difference. This one taps. It's plasticky. I just pulled this one out of my trash to show you because I used it recently. It does make the image. It doesn't make it to the level of quality that I want. And I'll show you. I'm going to show you on premium dye ink and I'll zoom you in. I used different colors here so you can see how different things work. This is a dye ink pad. We talked about all that vocab in the last video. This is Gina K. She makes beautiful stuff. Stampin' Up! Makes dye. Lots of stamp companies make dye inks because they can make them in so many different beautiful colors. So if we stamp this, I'm going to ink it up really well. And then I push as hard as I can. I don't rock. I just go straight down and then I lift up. See how the little stars didn't come out clean? Especially right there at the top. There's nothing I can do about that, at least in the short run. Maybe some of those people who try and save their stamps with, I don't know, I can't think of what it is right now. Maybe they could save it. I'm not interested in saving it. I have lots of cute little stamps and it drives me nuts because I keep pulling it off the wall and using it. But listen, you can't tell that way. The other thing you can tell is, see how this has like shellac or glue or something weird, like something has happened to this stamp. It has this weird shiny, maybe somebody tried to coat it with something or re-glue it. Anyway, I'm done with it. I'm over it. I just, like I said, pulled it out to show you. So sometimes a stamp has a problem. It's either too old or not all stamps are created equally. They're not all good quality. So if you can't make a stamp work with different ink pads, it might not be you. Let's talk about best practice. Dye ink. What I like to do is, you saw me take a little stamp and just put it in the pad. A dye ink pad typically has felt. It's almost impossible for you to make this a squishy, gooey mess. You can go stamp to pad, or you can go pad to stamp. On a bigger stamp with a lot of detail, I like to go pad to stamp so that I can make sure I got this whole image nice and inky before I use it. I'm not totally happy. I want it to be shiny. I want it to be even. Now I'm not going to push super hard. I'm like tapping, tap, tap, tap. Okay. Then I turn it over. I put it down. Has to be on a smooth surface. I can have 2 pieces of paper. Sometimes that helps, but I can't stamp on the edge or the seam. Straight down, hold it, don't rock it. Apply some nice pressure and then lift straight up and hold your paper down. So this is a dyed ink. It's not juicy. Comes in a million colors, all sorts of options. Now let's wipe off that stamp and I'll show you that same stamp in VersaFine. The other thing about this that isn't really fair the way I'm doing this, I'll do one more just to show you. A stamp sometimes needs a little warming up or conditioning. So if you're doing a really fancy project and you've assembled a bunch of layers, you want to get that stamp ready and stamp it on something else. There's a spot right there that seems a little low that I haven't gotten as wet. Sometimes your stamp pads aren't perfectly flat either, so you want to watch for that and use the edges to touch the pad if you need to. Okay, then I stamp. I'm going to stamp right next to it so you can see it. Hold the paper down, lift straight up. The difference is so slight. I'm not sure if you can tell, but this second image is better. The leaves right here are darker. The text came through a little darker. It's because the stamp was essentially warmed up. It had 1 layer of ink on it already, and I had stamped out with it, and then I did another one. So if you're trying to compare different ink pads, if I had stamped this image and then gone straight to VersaFine, not really fair to compare them as a true perfect comparison. This one is darker and the image is a little bit crisper. Now I'm going to wash the stamp off. Okay, here's what I like to use to wash my stamps. This is a worn out washcloth so it's not going to give off lint and it's not drippy wet. It's very wet, but it will not under any circumstances drip on my projects or my counter. That is number 1. Then I just take it and I rub it here. And I got it a little extra damp because I wanted to be sure that it lasted for the video. And I did the whole thing. So the number 1 thing is you want to be sure it's not going to drip any water. And normally I would not clean a stamp with a wet rag over the paper I'm going to use to stamp on, right? But that's for you and I'm showing you. Okay, now I recommend, especially if you're a beginner, you keep that damp rag in something because this is kryptonite to your projects. If this touches the edge of your card or something or your scrapbook page, it's ruined. It's going to leave that weird mark and buckle it up. Now, because I'm going to use this right now, I'm going to dry it off. Normally, I do not dry my stamps. I leave them all upside down on the counter and then I go do something else and then I come back and put them away. Now this towel is super low lint. What do they call these? Maybe a bar towel. I don't like these for cleaning stamps. I don't feel like they get into the texture enough, especially if you're using a pigment ink. Dye ink cleans up much easier. Remember, this is very easy cleanup. This one, you'll see. It's going to be messier when you watch the next cleanup. That's also why I'm showing you stamp cleanup, stamp cleanup. Okay, now we'll use the same stamp. Now this one is gooier. I need to be a little bit more careful on this, but I'm still going to go upside down, but I'm not going to push. I'm not going to rock. I'm just tapping. Zelda's playing in her box behind me. That's what that weird noise is. So tap, 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 tap. See how much darker it is? It's very crisp. You can see it, shiny and inked up. Then I just have to make sure I'm not stamping on a paper seam. And I go and I hold it down. Now, a pigment ink is a little thicker, a little stickier, so I might let it set a second longer. These other ones I held down longer than I had to. Part of it is talking. Lift straight up. Ooh, this is a good example. Okay, see right here how this isn't crisp where it says wildflowers? Here you can read it and here you can't. That is either two things. Either I got too much ink, which is possible. My guess is I rocked that stamp a tiny bit when I set it down because the ribbon doesn't have a crisp edge either. So you want to be absolutely careful that when you are putting your stamp down on paper, you go straight down and resist the urge. When I was first learning, especially with these grooved ones and Stampin' Up, like I had the urge to like rock it. Do not, under any circumstances, rock it. Go down, touch your paper, come straight back up. The reason I hold my paper is because a dye ink, not so much, but on some of these stickier inks, like the pigment, or especially on Versamark, if you have a cheap paper, it's going to stick to the ink and lift back up. This is copy paper, so I have to hold it down. If you had 100-pound cardstock, probably not so much. Okay, I'm going to go straight. I'm not going to rock. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not even pushing very hard. I'm just letting it sit there and applying light pressure. And then I'm going to lift it straight back up. It's better than the first one. I don't have this icky edge right here. You can read, I send you wildflowers. I have a tiny spot right there where either we had an interruption because my phone filled up. That tiny spot is me, either not inking or having lint, because the stamp itself didn't have that before. That's how you know when you stamp a few out and you get to know a stamp. Now let's do some sentiments and some smaller stamps. Now I'm just stamping on this paper because I'm probably going to stamp a million and throw some away. Typically you would stamp on cardstock, and I'm hoping you can see this yellow one is very smooth. This pinkish one, we used to have a lot of cardstocks that were textured like this. Textured cardstock is not going to be ideal for stamping, especially for your sentiments. You want a nice smooth paper, or it's not going to touch everywhere. If you're doing like mixed media and messy stuff and you don't care, then don't worry about it. And I was going to demonstrate with this font, but it's a little bit of a weird font, so let me get a different stamp and we'll have a nice crisp font to show you. And again, you don't want water on your stamps. That's not going to lead to stamping a nice image either. So usually I'm not switching colors and washing my stamps and reusing them. Oh, that's another trick for you. I have a cardboard box that is where I put my dirty stamps. I like a cardboard box because, in fact, I would like it to not be coated like this, because then when the stamp touches, it soaks up the ink right then. It's less likely to get, onto the wood block of my stamp. The odds of that coming out aren't very good. So if you want your stamps to be clean, yeah, that's not coming off. That is, based on the color I know, it's probably an archival. Then I might go on with my day or my week or my month. I'm not necessarily going to wash them all right away. This one you can see, it's super shiny and weird. That's from the Versamark when I stamped it in the last video and I didn't wash it. Now, normally I would not leave Versamark on a stamp because that is a layer of thickness and stickiness that is kind of a mess. So Versamark I probably would typically clean up. I also don't know if that's really good for stamps. But regular dye ink, pigment ink, I don't worry about it. Versamark is so sticky and thick that that's probably not quite clean. I'd check it one more time before I used it. The risk if your stamp isn't clean or if it has water on it is you won't get an even image. If you're doing mixed media and you don't care, go for it. Okay, so let's stamp Get Well Soon. Let's do it with VersaFine ink. This is a smaller stamp, so I'm just going stamp to pad. I'm trying to go straight down so I don't get gooey edges, because if you get a bunch of ink there, sometimes it shows up. Especially if you had to trim your own stamps and put them together and you didn't trim them well. Okay, now I lift straight up. See, it needs to be broken in a little, especially maybe because it was wet from being cleaned. So we re-ink it, and that's why you want to get to know a stamp before you use it on your project. So I typically stamp my sentiments onto a piece of paper, and then I, trim them down and stamp it that way. I never work on it, well, never say never. I do crazy things, but I try to avoid working on a card to the point where all it needs is happy birthday and then it's done, because the odds of messing up are pretty high. Now, all of this that I'm saying and showing you, there we go. See how much better that got? That's about conditioning the stamp and getting it ready. It was too clean. It didn't like it. It wasn't taking the ink, and it was probably a little damp still. Now, all of this is about woodblock stamps. When we switch to clear stamps, you have more chances to get it right. That is why lots of people do not like woodblock stamps. Woodblock stamps were the original before we had all the other options. They take up more storage space. They're sometimes harder to work with, especially if you're learning. I like to have them on my wall, ready to go. I grab them and stamp with them. So I use them a lot, but it's a preference thing. Also, my personal stamp exchange brand, they never made it to clear stamps. So if you want their stamps, you have to use woodblock. Assume that I stamped this perfectly and fixed the S. See how crisp the get well soon is? How crisp and even it is? Now I want you to see, I'm gonna take that same stamp, I'm gonna wash it, we're gonna let it dry for a minute, we'll do something else, and then we'll use it with a distress oxide so you can see what it looks like there. Because I talked about how they're not even all the way through. It's a look. Maybe you love it, maybe it fits with your style, maybe you're more mixed media, more artsy, more messy. Okay, so we'll let that dry to give the oxide a fair chance, because obviously it had a problem here. Now, let me just grab some different ones. Okay, this is an archival ink, so purple is going to be archival. This one, remember, is permanent. It's not sticky and gooey. It kind of feels more like a dye base, like if you just handed me this pad, I don't know that I'd know the difference. It's a felt pad, and it's thin to work with. Oh, the way I might know the difference is that the plastic is kind of stained, and on a dye base, you're probably not going to get that. Now in this, because I have a tiny ink pad and a big stamp, I'm going to go like this. Tap, 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 tap. So you can use a tiny stamp pad and a big stamp, no problem. You don't have to buy giant pads. Like if you want to try a color of ink and there's a small one and a big one and you're not sure, you can always just get the little one. Or like maybe you only use orange for Halloween, so you don't want a giant stamp pad of it, but you want one. Straight down again. Don't be sidetracked by the shape of the thing. Just go straight. I did move it a little. Narrower stamps are trickier to work with sometimes. I probably didn't rock it enough to mess up the image. Now I'm going to pull it straight up. Gorgeous. That's why I like these red rubber stamps, because the level of detail, I got hooked on it. And some people don't think that the clear stamps do that level of detail. I don't know if that's true or not, but I love the stamp, so I don't care how it comes. This one I would probably stamp on cardstock and then trim down as a border on a card. Now I want to show you one more thing that we didn't talk about at all, because my video was about ink pads, markers. I have 3 different brands of markers here. What these all have in common is that they are going to work for stamping. What will not work for this, do not do it to your stamps, is an alcohol-based marker like Copics or that brand I always forget that starts with an A. They make them. A bunch of people make alcohol-based markers. That's not this. These are water-based, or this one says it's a pigment ink, which surprises me, but that's okay. So if you have, say for example, orange, you don't want to invest in an orange ink pad, but you want to stamp orange feathers. You can take your marker like this. Crayolas work just fine too. You can steal them from your grandkids. This one's Stampin' Up. This is a Zig Writer. I don't know if they make these anymore. The Tombos are the modern version typically. You just color on that stamp. If it has this kind, you'll be there all day. So try and use the biggest end of it. Go like this, get it nice and wet. Be sure you got the whole thing. Then the old school trick is to breathe on it. We used to say that we huff on them, but don't say that these days. It means something different now. So breathe, stamp. All the same rules apply. Never rock it, straight down, straight up. If you have a set of markers and you pick up one stamp or one set of stamps, you can do it this way. Let me see if I have a Crayola right now. I gave most of the Crayolas away, but here's a couple of them. These have kind of a smaller tip. You want to work as fast as you can, but as long as you breathe on it right before it goes, it'll work. This is a big image stamp, so you can kind of see as I color, it tries to resist a little bit the moisture. Just keep coloring till the whole thing's wet. Get lots of ink on it. In this, it's lipstick, so I'm kind of going the way lipstick would go, and I guess if I get a smear, we'll just pretend it was supposed to be that way. I missed part of the stamp right there, too. That's funny. Okay, so you want to get the whole thing wet. Breathe on it. Stamp. See how it's a little smeary? It's a very big, flat image, and I colored it with a marker. So if that bothers you, you're going to need an ink pad. Fortunately for lips, it's fine. And that is what the stamp looks like. It looks smeary and messy. We did a dye ink, we did a pigment ink, and we did a marker. Now, our Get Well Soon is dry, and I'm gonna stamp it right here next to it. And I'm gonna show you what this looks like. See, it's very wet and gooey. Then I'm gonna go straight down. See how the Get Well Soon in black right here, the edges are more crisp and the image is more even than the Get Well Soon. I hope you can tell that. It is lit up in here like a runway, but it might not be enough for you for such detail. The Get Well Soon down here, it's a little more smeary looking. It's more varied too. It has light and dark in the colors, which almost makes it look like an error, but it's just a cool look. This might look better with like a watercolor background, whereas this is all crisp and boring, and maybe this is your style. I will stamp a sentiment or an image in the color that I want to use, the stamp pad that is on the counter, whatever. If I'm making a with sympathy card, I'm gonna take the time to find the VersaFine because I don't want like a mixed media wild look on a with sympathy card. Also, sometimes your fonts, if your font is very, very formal, I'm looking around to find one, you might not want a wild looking, here, with deepest sympathy. I want my ink to come out perfectly. I want it to be formal looking and crisp. So that's an example. But if you already have distress oxides and now you're realizing you can use them to stamp and play with, do it, right? Sometimes you just need a birthday card. It's not the most important thing ever. And remember, a new stamp pad these days is like, what? I bet this is $9 these days. So you have to ask yourself, do I need to go out and buy that? How many cards am I going to make with it? Otherwise, that card costs you $9. We've tried 3 different types of ink pads and a marker for stamping. I showed you how I clean them. In fact, I'll clean some stamps while we talk. And this one's going to be gooier, right? It's got that blue. I don't know if you could see that on the rag, but you wouldn't want to clean that spot. You wouldn't want to clean the next stamp with that exact spot. Then you just keep, and what I do very often is I put the dirty ones up on end as I'm stamping so that they don't fall down and they're not, and then when I clean them, I typically batch clean, so I'm not trying to touch, like I don't get out a wet rag while I'm still working on my project usually, because over the years, I have proved to myself that I'm not even responsible enough to put it in the container. I mean, let's be honest, I'm just not. So I usually wait. I put them all in my little brown cardboard box. Well, this one happens to be white, but sometimes it's a brown cardboard box so that they don't touch anything else. And then I just keep crafting until there's stamp cleaning time, which is usually like maybe monthly. Okay, and I am putting pretty good force on them, but what I'm not doing is I'm not going to get this part wet. If you have some kind of spray or something, don't get it wet on those, and never ever put your wood block stamps under the faucet. I think that's enough for wood block stamps. I'm going to reset this a little bit and get out some clear stamps to show you. If right now you're thinking that wasn't enough for wood block stamps and you wanted to see more, or you wanted to see a certain type, or you had a question, leave it in the notes. Oh, the last thing I'll show you is this one. A big stamp is harder. By default, it just is. And in fact, I'm going to try and stamp this on something that I'll use. Oops, see how I put it on the counter? Now I have a wet spot on my counter, and if I get my project in that, it'll get ruined. So on a giant stamp, especially if you're learning, you're going to want to go, I'm going to use a different color because I'm going to use the color I want to use. So we're making projects that you'll see later too. You're going to take the pad and go to the stamp. I'm not pushing, I'm not rocking, I'm not getting wild with it. It's just tap, 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 tap. And it's probably a super annoying noise, but since I'm trying to do a really good job and demonstrate properly, I want to get it. Now, you can lift it up and peek at it. It's shiny. The trick is this stamp has all this black on it, and I'm using like a light tan, so I can't really see it. Not like when we put Salty Ocean on that other stamp. So sometimes you just have to roll with it. Now, big stamp, heavy to manage. I kind of want it a little crooked, so I'm going to go, that's it. You can't change your mind. Don't hesitate. Don't change your mind. Just commit. Then I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to push on this. I am stamping on a Formica countertop. There, under this part right here, there isn't actually a counter. It's just so I can slide my legs under if I want. Formica, the smooth kind, works very nice. You can also have a fancy stamping glass mat. Those work great to stamp on, but they're terrible to film because it reflects to you and drives you nuts. Plus mine's dirty, so that sends half of you over the edge anyway. There we go. Okay, now I missed part of it, didn't I? I didn't ink that top edge. Let's see. No, I didn't touch the top edge. So I didn't apply enough pressure, or something about this wasn't flat enough, whatever. But this is perfect for a journal. The reason I don't mind this as a big wood block stamp, same with this one, is I don't care if the whole image stamps. I just want background imagery that's interesting. I wouldn't buy a stamp this big that said happy anniversary and I wanted it to turn out perfect every time on a wood block. I just wouldn't, because I would know that I would be pretty frustrated with that. Now we're going to reset for clear, and I will show you why people like clear stamps. All right, I got new paper, same exact paper. I kept the same ink pads and markers so you could see that and get an idea of how it works. I got out a bunch of stamp blocks and a bunch of different stamps. We're not going to use all these stamps. I just want you to see the variety. This one's Inky Antics, and I want to talk about this because this is another category. These are red rubber stamps that don't come mounted. So the product is more like these, okay? But if you feel the back, it's just this shiny thing. And if you aren't sure, you can ask, or you can read instructions, or you can always like, I don't know, ask me. I'm trying to figure out where it says, okay, cling mount stamps, cling, okay, like a window cling. You take them and they just stick on. Just make sure it's on all the way, even and flat. Be sure you don't have hand lotion on your hand when you're doing that, because that will mess up how it takes the ink. And then there you go. It's ready to stamp with. Just like a red rubber stamp. That sound is because it's a sticky pad and it lifts it. So maybe another reason to go pad to stamp. And then you just stamp. Again, straight down, hold it, give it a second to soak it up, straight up. There you go. She believed she could, so she did. I loved the sentiment. I didn't care what kind of stamp it was. I'm going to peel this off. Try to do it without getting ink on my finger because we want to move on. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to set it in my box just like I would with a woodblock stamp. Now we have the block. Now the thing about clear stamps is you can have a million of them, but they're not ready to go like a woodblock stamp. If you're new here, let me show you the wall. All of those are ready to go. I don't have to wash them. I don't have to touch the back and not get ink on myself. They're all ready to go. Clear stamps, I'm limited by the number of blocks that I have, or I have to tear them apart and put them aside like we did with that one, right? I set it over there so that we could reuse this block. When I first started with clear stamps, I didn't have enough blocks. Then I got to the point where I picked up quite a few, and knowing what I know now, I would have bought every time I went to a good yard sale or something like that where they had close to my heart or a brand that I like, I would have bought a ton of clear blocks because I like just leaving them set up and I shove them in the box and then they're dirty. And I probably wouldn't have spent money on one this size. Maybe I would, and I'll show you why. I'm trying to round them up so we can stamp a bunch. Ooh, this one's a fun one, so we'll just use it. So it's a stamp on the block already. I'll show you how to do that, but we just did the same thing with the red rubber. Then you take it, you stamp just like a wood block. Ink, ink. Now, here's the cool part. With a clear, I know exactly where it's going to land on the page. So if I wanted these two quotes to play off of each other, they don't go together at all, just so you know. But I could. If I wanted it to be right here, up here at an angle, I can see it to position it perfectly. Okay? This is a very big block and a very small stamp, so I need to be careful not to rock. As you're learning, it's better if you match the size of your stamp to the size of your block. So I've positioned this one right here. I took a walk in the woods and came out taller than the trees next to it. That's why people like clear stamps, and I'll show you the stamp positioner also. But first we're going to start here. Because a clear stamp, you can tell exactly where it's going to go on the piece of paper. Why would that matter? Let me give you some examples. What if you want to stamp in the very middle of this doily? These doilies aren't super smooth, so that could be problematic. First of all, let's be sure we're only stamping on one, but I'll show you. Let's use, I don't want a walk in the woods on that. I might use a thank you. We'll use this one. Oh, except it's not clear. Hello, that won't be a good demo. I think blessed might fit. And see, we're not sure if it fits, but if it's a clear stamp, we can figure it out for sure. Just because a stamp is clear doesn't mean it's high quality. There are a variety of qualities in both kinds, in all the kinds. Close to my heart, Stampin' Up, Inky Antics. I'm kind of picky about stamps I buy. I don't just go on Amazon and buy like knockoff made in China ones. You'll find spelling errors in those, be careful. I set it down on here because I was checking the size, but you just set it down, you put your block on it, pick it up, it's sticky, right? This is a nice quality stamp, so it's sticking to the paper even without ink. Then we're gonna ink it up. I don't want this extra piece of paper because I don't want anything slipping. I want to be able to control it. And I can hold, you're kind of in my way, but I'm standing on my tiptoes so I can see. I can hold my stamp and go straight down, and then I got to control where it went. There's no way I could do that with a wood block stamp and get it right. Then I'm going to lift up. See how it's stuck? Because I didn't get a hold of it. There we go. Now, blessed got right in the middle of it, and it's useful. If you were doing that with a woodblock stamp, it might work. I cheat. What I do on a woodblock stamp is I use a really small one. I wouldn't have even tried on a word that big with a woodblock. But happy birthday, I could probably get it somewhere in there okay. The other thing to know about happy birthday is back in the day, didn't we assemble these? I think we did. So I put that sticker on, and it's more to the left. But when I put the stamp on, I did a better job getting it in the middle. So where the sticker is doesn't really tell you where the stamp is. Does that make sense? And sometimes you'll buy a stamp, this one's good, and they're crooked. And so you have to learn to adjust to the stamp, the wood block, if it's crooked. You don't have that problem with clear. You control everything, you can see everything. What else? We stamped with that one. Let's just do some more stamping in case you have some questions. What I do not recommend is putting a stamp this size on a block this size. That was because nothing else was clean probably and I was lazy. Let's not use this because I'll have to wash it and then it'll be wet. Peel them off. Every once in a great while, I've heard of people actually tearing their stamps because they stick so hard, you know, so be a little careful. Maybe that's cheaper ones. This, I think, is a Dollar Tree stamp block. This is really hard to work with, especially with my big hands. I like thicker stamp blocks. I really like these. These were from, I think it's We Are Memory Keepers. See that logo? I like this curved edge. I purchased it's not even here. I purchased a very expensive round Gina K stamp block. I loved the grooves on the edge of it. It was really easy to hang on to. But what did I tell you about what I do with dirty stamps? Right? I put stamps up on end. Okay, that does not work well with a rolling stamp. You do not want that. So if you have a habit of setting things up on end, round stamp blocks are not for you. I will not buy any more round ones. It did not bring me joy. It's not Gina's fault. It had nice grooves and nice edges. I'm just not smart enough to use a circle one. Okay, we can use any one of these. It's the same idea. I don't know the stamp. I've never used it before. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. When you're using something like navy, it's really easy to learn. So keep that in mind. If you're using yellow and trying to learn, it's going to be a little harder to see it. I can see this is not taking the ink evenly on what I think is a solid part of the stamp. It's not broken in. It's just not dark enough. So we're going to stamp this. We're going to assume it's not going to be great. We're going to lift. We're going to break it in a little. If you have a stamp that is resisting ink and fighting you, stamp it with an archival, leave it on the counter. I'll show you. Because this one is not conditioned. And what that does is it makes it was like when that Crayola marker was resisting a little. This side is light, this side is globby because it's not taking it even. It's more even than that one. It's getting better, but it might take me a while. So what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna wipe it off just with a dry cloth. I don't want water on it. And then I'm gonna take my archival and it's gonna stain this stamp. Like this one's already a little pinkish from the blue ink. Like stamps get dirty, life happens. That means you're having fun. If you want your stamps to stay perfectly clean and unstained, don't use them. I'm gonna let that dry. I'm not gonna wash it. I'm not gonna do anything to it. Archival ink will give that stamp a little bit of a texture so it takes ink better. That's another reason I like to buy used stamps. Somebody else already broke them in for me. That's how lazy I am. Another stamp that might be problematic is like this pumpkin because it's a big flat image. It gives your pumpkin some texture. I'll show you. So if it doesn't take it well, it gives it some texture and it's okay. If it bothers you a lot, you're gonna have to get it dirty. And that's what the archival ink does. You can also just do it with any other ink and let it sit overnight, but archival's probably gonna do it for sure. I don't think this is going to work probably very well with this one. This stamp is used. I got this. I think Noni picked this up for me at our other friend's garage sale. So it has a better chance of getting even. Oh yeah, it took it beautifully. It's also close to my heart. So it's a nice brand. Okay, I'm gonna hold the paper down, remember? Oh, so I missed a spot right there. It was pressure. The stamp had, see the ink on it? That could be because maybe I didn't get it down flat enough. So I was talking and I don't pay attention. Also, maybe I had glitter in the way. You never know. This time I'm going to use a lot more pressure. It could also be there's something on my counter or it's not flat. You know, if you get a repeat issue, then you sort of know what's going on. I would not try and stamp on like natural stone countertops. I wouldn't try and stamp on like a textured cutting board. None of that. It has to be smooth. This, because it's already broken in, it took the ink great. I'm washing that one because it's a little bit orange and I might not realize it was dirty because it's kind of the same color. You're getting the idea, right? There's long, skinny blocks. Again, these are going to be harder to work with. The big one is going to be hard to work with. Ooh, let me show you something else. If you're like a collage, mixed media, like messy, not a formal, traditional card maker. I had some out. Oh, it fell on the floor. You don't have to use a block. I don't want to use violet for this. Plum. I don't know if plum is purple or if it's like plum. We'll see. Probably not a clean stamp. I don't care about that either. I'm going to ink up part of it. I'm going to try not to have a straight edge. I didn't rub back and forth. Maybe some people do. I think rubbing back and forth, you risk especially with a gooier ink pad, the possibility of getting like a puddle, you know, if it pulls too much ink. Also, I think it's hard on your stamp pads. There's no rule that says you even have to have a block. Maybe you forgot to buy a block and you want to play with these new stamps you have. There you go. Still gorgeous, right? What I'll do is I'll let that dry and then I'll have some collage fodder. I also have been known to use a CD case or a DVD case. Do you have any of those around? What else could you use? I bet this. So if you're really new and you only bought one block because you didn't really know what was going on, this has a little bit of give though, so this might not work great. But if you put your stamp near the edge, it might. You just need something for this to stick to and for you to be able to move. We'll try that in a minute and see. I already inked this, didn't I? Probably. There. Let's get the whole flower this time. See, the trick is just go straight up. Don't jiggle around. So I'm just going to take this and lay it this side up in my box. I'm going to wipe off my hands because it's getting a little wild. And then I wipe them in my pockets. Now this, I didn't say anything at first and I got lucky because I don't always do it. This is archival ink because I want to be able to collage with it later and get it wet with glue. See how it went through the sewing pattern? It will do the same thing with tissue paper. If you have white tissue paper, you can stamp on it and make it beautiful, but put something underneath. And you don't have to use archival. If you use glue stick to put it on later, if you're going to use something that's wet or you want to put gel matte medium over the top of it or Mod Podge, you need to use archival because this ink would move later if it wasn't archival. But if you're just using glue stick, use whatever ink you want. Let's just see if we can do this. It probably would be easier if I went this way too. I want to try and do this without getting my ink all over my card box. Maybe somebody gave you a set of stamps and you didn't realize you needed a stamp block. CD cases, hard plastic things in your house, walk around and look. The trick is they have to be smooth and flat. It can't have a ridge, it can't have a curve. I have also been known to take this and go like this and put it on here. Now, remember, I'm kind of obsessive and I'm almost a collector about my PSX stamps. Doing this puts me at risk of getting ink on my stamp. So I'm not going to demo this, but you can do it. See, it sticks, it's on there. I'm not obsessed with this stamp. I would use that one. Some of them have stickers, and I think it still works on the stickers. Some of them maybe don't have enough varnish for it to stick. See, that one, it doesn't stick very well. This one has a nice clear coat on it. So just something that it can cling to. There might be something in your kids' toys. Plastic is really good because it cleans up better. But remember, you do run the risk of staining whatever you use a little bit. I have blocks. I know you're shocked. I have blocks that, like, I don't know if this corner's ever, oh, maybe if I had nothing to do, it might come clean. So, you know, don't use like their fancy collector Legos or something. Oh, the little tiny block is great for the little tiny stamps. So that's why maybe it is good. If you want to take this little butterfly and you want to have some salty ocean butterflies flying around, oops. And again, salty ocean is going to be dark. Oh, Stampin' Off. We need to show you. I'm going to show you with a different ink. I'm going to show you with this one. Twyla, I think it was, left me a comment before that I didn't talk to you about Stamping Off, which is like an old term. I think that's what we still call it though. Say you want a light blue and a dark blue, but you don't have them both, or you can't afford it, or pink. You want a light pink and a dark pink. I'll show you with a pink version too, with a marker. You stamp, it's all inked up nice, stamp, stamp again. So I got a dark butterfly and a light butterfly. If I was trying to do one of those layering flowers, do we have any of those out here? Here we go. This is the brand that I can never remember the name of. And they are very sticky. They're nice quality, but ooh, very sticky. See, I got ink at the bottom of that. I'm just messy. I'm not going to do every single layer because I think there's like 4 and I just want you to see. And this was a really good point that Twyla was trying to make for you guys because it helps with the amount of supplies you purchase. And this is also another great example of why people like clear stamps better. Stamp. I'm going to get them both ready at the same time, just for simplicity. This is my other layer. I hope these two go together. Yeah, I think it's all one flower. Anyway, in my world it is. Let me show you this better. I'm going to stamp on the yellow. The yellow is the project that we are making. When you do a Stampin' Off technique, you need a trash piece of paper or a project that you want to turn out differently. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be trash. The yellow is my project. So if I stamp here and I go on to the yellow, this is going to be very dark. So I don't want to do that. I want to come over here and I want to stamp this. Then I don't re-ink and I come over here and I stamp. I stamped it off. This one we put over here because we didn't want it in our project. So then what we have is a very light blue rose. Then I take this one. This saves you, if you're not quite with me yet, this saves you from buying light and dark. So if you have pink, you know, I like blue, so we do everything in blue here. You don't have to buy 2 pinks. You could buy 1 pink die pad and do this. Okay, then come over here. This would be a lot easier if I had used this stamp in like the last forever years. Then also it's very light. Okay, so it's hard to line up. And just pretend, okay, that probably is good. Then I'm stamping. Then I'm lifting. So then I got 2 tones of ink. I got to use my outline stamp and I didn't have to buy 2. How cool is that? Now I kind of wish I'd done it on white because I love it. What do you think, Cheryl? Blue and yellow. So you could do that, I think, probably with a marker too. Let's try it. Let's just try. Some things you just have to wash in between because otherwise that'd be a hot mess. I know you could do it with the, like this brand of this red marker for sure. We'll try it with a Crayola. So what I'm trying to do is also help you because in the beginning when you're learning and you're trying to figure out what supplies do I need and what could I use, you might not have everything on hand, but you see something and you want to make it and you think, oh, I don't have that ink pad or that product. Well, lots of times you can get there a different way. Okay, I'm going to stay on the yellow because I'm trying to get you to understand this is where your project goes. You have to stamp off first. Okay, so I'm going to take this pink marker And I'm doing the big stamp first, the one that's the most filled in. There are flowers like this. There might be dogs. I should look and see. I would like those. Maybe cats. Cats would be great too. I don't know what else. There's like a million sets of flowers of these. This is a lot. If you're into pink, you would probably do this once or twice and then be like, I'm going to buy a pink ink pad. And I'm coloring it like a lunatic, which, I mean, I'm not really into coloring, so we've kind of exceeded my interest. Now, I can see there's lint. It was either from the towel or from the marker or something that will put a pattern in my stamp. That's okay. It won't be the end of the world. It's probably because the Crayola tip is like getting worn out, because I do crazy things to my craft supplies. I'm hard on jewelry too. Mr. Crafting and Relaxing buys certain things just because of that. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work because this is a huge stamp and a tiny marker. So you keep in mind why people buy ink pads now. So I huff on it, stamp off, stamp here, and see how it's not real even? That's because I'm using a tiny marker. Okay, I barely got any color. Barely. Do I even want to? Yeah, just for fun. Let's do it. Okay, so then I'll show you. And if it was on white, it would probably show better. Then we do the big one, and I'm probably not going to do every line, but I'm going to do enough so that you could have an artistic rose. Like, I don't know, maybe you want more of an impressionist rose or an abstract. I've got you. Yes, the tip of it is like linty. There we go. So there's a million little lines. I don't know if you can even see them. I'm going to breathe on it. Then I'm going to go. And because the pink, the light pink was so hard to see, I don't know if I lined it up decent. Yeah, it's interesting. It's not great, is it? So maybe I wouldn't try that with Crayola. Now let's try it with the other one. I'm going to let this big flat stamp dry for a sec though. Because it will take the ink better. Also, I don't use fabric softener and stuff. You might want to keep that in mind with your crafty towels, right? You don't want a bunch of layers of soap or protection or that kind of stuff on your stamps. They won't work as well. If you, I mean, these are rags I'm using. I've probably used them to do this a million times. Over time, some of the ink washes out, some of it doesn't. I don't care. I'm going to start tidying for the next phase, but I'm going to let these two dry for a minute. Then I'll show you that and then we'll move on. We're going to try a little nicer marker. It's also much faster. Like if you knew you were going to use a certain color a couple times. And these are very often sold individually also, so you don't have to buy a whole package. Now remember, we're going to stamp off, because we want to lighten it up. Then we're going to stamp here, and I'm going to let it sit for a sec because I want to squeeze all the ink. The stamp had a whole bunch of lint on it from one marker or the other, or towel. Whoa, see, I couldn't even get it off. I didn't manage to mess it up though. Usually when something like that happens, it would scuff across and you'd be frustrated. Turned out fine. And you can see that made much more color than our last one. Then we take this, and it's very easy to see with these nicer markers too if you hit it. It does have some lint on it. I can live with it. Some of that lint, whatever you do, don't try and get it off while it's wet. Let it dry all the way. Ooh, see, I managed to get ink on my block too, but it didn't touch. But don't fiddle with the ink or the lint. Let it dry. There you go. Pretty cool image for the amount of effort that we put into it, huh? So those are layering stamps, and this stamp set has Altenew. There you go. Fancy brand that starts with an A, Altenew. Every time I say can't remember starts with an A, that's who I'm talking about. There are a bunch of different layers in here. So you could do some pink, some red. You could do them however you wanted. One thing I didn't mention is to wash these. You could literally have a little pan or a little container. I prefer glass because I'm less likely to tip it over, right? If it's Tupperware and it's too light, I'll spill it. And you can just put these right into water. These you can put into water. I would avoid putting soap in the water because you have to be sure you rinse them really well. Now, maybe you had a bunch of pigment inks and they're gooey and you're struggling and hot water's not getting it done. Okay, a splash of soap won't kill you, but be sure you rinse them really good because what you're doing is you're taking off the seasoning that you've added, right? Just like I'm trying to get this majestic ink to dry on here to give me some seasoning. If you cook, think about a brand new, the frying pans, what are they called? You want them to be black. You want them to have the oil on them and season in the oven. The cleanest stamps are not the ones that work the best. I know, it's crazy talk, but these are my beliefs. This is a beginner video. I'm just trying to keep it real. I usually do anyway. All of this we did with clear blocks like this. These you can pick up probably different places, but I bet for less than $20, you can have a couple of sizes, okay? When I bought some of those, like one of those sets, I think it was this one, it was Tuesday morning back when we had that store, and they were, I bet it was less than 10. Hang on. Miss Zelda, that is Mommy's. That's Mommy's paper. Yeah, I think you've eaten enough paper for today anyway. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to get into stamp positioners. More expensive. There are different brands. This is the Tim Holtz version. There was a lawsuit. I don't know how it turned out. I'm not sure this is still available. You can look up Misty. I think it's M-I-S-T-I. Somebody correct me in the notes below if I'm wrong. The default color for them is pink. We Are Memory Keepers, I'm sure, makes one. Probably almost everybody. You can just Google stamp positioner and read reviews and see what you think. On crafting tools, if you want to craft a lot, don't buy weird brands that you've never heard of and try that stuff. Like, there's a reason that I buy ink pads of brands that I know, okay? Because I know they work well. If you're just gonna make one set of Christmas cards with the grandkids and that's it, and you don't think you're gonna be a stamper, okay, fine, that's different. But otherwise, buy yourself some nice stuff that you like. And I always try to remind people, don't buy what I have, because I may have it because someone gave it to me, or I'm too cheap to buy the one I really want, or I've had it for 30 years and I fell in love with it. You never know. You can always ask me too. Okay, this is my stamp positioner. I keep all the time, you guys are gonna mess up my perfect arrangement, my crafting and relaxing stamp that I put on the back of my card bases. I keep it in here. I keep it ready to go, ready to make cards. I can make a whole bunch right in a row. They all turn out perfect, like I never miss stamp, which, I mean, you guys saw me. I do sometimes. Now this, to make things more complex, I wasn't going to go there today because this is a beginner video. This is a stamp that I purchased on a wood block stamp and took off of the wood block because your card bases, if you're buying 100 or 120 pound, it's like 5 or 7 cents each. So I want to get them right. And it's a super boring, miserable thing. So I want it to go fast and easy and work perfectly. So that's why I took it off of the wood block stamp. I'm not going to do that with all my other ones because some of them, I like them just the way they are. I'm going to peel this off. It's filthy because I can't tell you when I cleaned it last. Maybe when I switched to gray ink on that one. And so you can see it took some replacing. My guess is I peeled the stuff off and then maybe Noni gave me the stuff to put on the back of it because she has all this stuff and does all kinds of different stuff all the time. So you can't just peel it off the wood block stamp and then expect it to work perfectly. There's a layer you purchase. That's another video. That is not beginner. Stamp positioners come with magnets, or a thing that like is a springboard and you put it down. The idea, oh, and sometimes they have a mat on the back so the paper doesn't slide. The idea is a stamp positioner controls where the paper goes, holds it tight for you, and you can redo your image if it doesn't come out the first time. I'm sure I'll mess up. I'll show you something. Let's use this beautiful Gratitude Turns What We Have Into Enough. You can use your stamp positioner a whole bunch of different ways. First of all, depending on whether you're using a clear stamp or a rubber stamp, it may have different settings. The ones that are springboardy just adapt. But this one, if you look at it carefully, one way up it says rubber, and if I flipped it the other way, it says clear. So I need to be able to read clear, and I'm going to put this right here. This is a clean stamp, so I'm not worried about putting it on my paper. If I was, I would do this differently, but let's pretend your stamps are clean too. Okay, so I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna put it over here at the edge, and I'm just gonna make sure that I'm not so close that I couldn't put a nice die cut around it, so I could use a layered oval. I'm fine with that. That works fine. Oops, I caught the edge a little. And I don't even care if it's straight, right? Because I'm going to die cut it and use it accordingly. So I close this, get it nice and sticky on there, lift it up. Now, oops, my stamp was a little dirty. I know, you're shocked. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this paper over because I made a little oops on it. I'm gonna move my magnet closer. I don't know where my other magnet is right now. That's not shocking. They stick to lamps and tools and all sorts of things. If you have this stamp positioner, or actually any of them, these magnets are super strong. Don't let them hit each other. Like, they'll actually pinch your skin doing it. Now, the other thing that's pretty cool about a stamp positioner is, remember, I'm probably going to die cut this. But if I wanted to be sure that it was perfectly straight, there's almost always a grid to work with. Let me give you colors so you can see. So you can tell if it is straight on the paper, essentially, because it's straight on the grid. I really wish I could find you another magnet because I'm worried this isn't going to work well. I don't know where it is right now. And that's weird because the last I used it, I'm sure I had 2 of them. If you have some magnets on your fridge that are clean like this, you could use those. All of my cute little nicer magnets, and there might have been some that were thin enough to use under this, I had to hide because Zelda kept trying to eat them. Okay, so here is why people like stamp positioners. We've already exceeded my interest in this stamp positioner, by the way, right? Like, it's just a level of getting ready that I just don't like. The reason I leave my crafting and relaxing stamp in there is because I almost never use the stamp positioner. And I totally thought I would. I thought I had to have it. I just don't use it. Okay, so you ink it up. My stamp is on there. My stamp is stuck down. Now I ink it. My paper is in there. Then I close it. You can use your hand, or your friend may have made you something for this. You may have bought a gadget and wondered what it was. Then you go like that. Then you lift. Okay, this magnet is too thick. See that? That's not gonna, well, let's make sure it wasn't just user error, but no, it's not. There's lots of ink down there. It just didn't touch. So we have a couple options. We can move this out here and then try again. My paper's moving. I can't find another magnet that will work because it has to be just the right magnet, and I'll tell you why. This one's too thick, so it doesn't press down all the way. So it has to be thin, but it has to be strong enough to hold through 80-pound cardstock. That's what I'm using here. The other magnets I'm trying don't even grip. I have hidden all the small magnets because of Zelda. I don't know where my magnets to use for closures, like on a journal or something, are right now. And I can't find the other magnet for that. My craft room is a disaster and we have not made it better. So it's very possible it's here somewhere. It's also possible we will never find it again, because if Zelda took it, then she batted it around and now it's probably stuck to the bottom of the washer or the dryer or the fridge. I'll show you how this is supposed to work and we'll just pretend it's working. And we can do a couple different things. We can put the magnet right here. And then we can tape the edge of this over here so that it can't slide away. And that wouldn't cause any trouble because, again, I'm not going to use that part. I'm going to die cut it. Stamps on there. Ink it. Just like the other stuff, you can see it. You know, just like on a red rubber. You look at it and you say, hey, did I do a good job? Tap, tap, tap. When you're using a positioner, you always go stamp pad to stamp. Then you close the lid. There's no wrong way to close the lid. Just close the lid. Rub on it. It is perfect. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's a tiny dot that I don't really understand right next to the I, into enough, and it looks like maybe something by the G. Maybe I have lint on the stamp. I'm getting you super zoomed in so you can help me look. But I mean, that's the level of perfection that we're talking about with the stamp position. So if you just want a bunch of images on a piece of paper, what I do sometimes is I just rotate it. This one allows for full-size pages. I absolutely thought I had to have this one that allows full-size pages because of scrapbook pages or art journal pages. It does not matter. I did not need this big one. I would have been just fine with a cute little card maker one where you cut the piece of paper down and then stamp on it. But oh well, since I have this one, I use all the corners. Oh, I was going to show you how to mess up. Okay, we'll do that on the next one. So we stamp, we rub it down. What you don't want to do is like push really hard on one end and not the other, because then you'll have that imbalance where the font looks fat on one side, just like if you were rocking a stamp. Okay, that one turns what into? Not quite dark enough. I feel like I could have had some more ink on there. Close it, press down. Because it holds the paper in exactly the same spot, especially if you have both your magnets, you can darken it up. If it wasn't dark enough, you can make it darker. I'm having troubles because I can't get close enough to the wall. There we go. That's better for you. Rotate it again, and I'm going to show you an exaggerated example of what I mean. If I am talking to you and I ink this, and then I close the top and I stamp, maybe it was a big stamp, like a big image you're going to color in, and you missed part of it, you just re-ink it. So that's how you can get your sentiments super dark and crisp, because you can do them more than once. So we can control with the stamp positioner if we want it super dark, if we're fine with how it comes out the first time. That's why people love them, because you don't have to practice as much. You don't have to worry about if your stamp's not properly conditioned. Like if we were doing this one and it wasn't on a wood block, it was a clear stamp, and parts of the image hadn't come out very well, or I missed them with the ink, wouldn't be a problem. We just patch it up. This is where I would go and I would take these and then I would put my die on there and I would cut them out and use them on a card. That's one way to do it. The other way is you can pre-cut your panel for your card front. So say you're someone who likes to color a lot, and I'm going to use tape, which if you can find your magnets, you don't have to. I know you're thinking, why doesn't she have spare magnets? And I'm saying to you, what makes you think I don't have spare magnets? I just don't know where those are either. Just a second, weird sound from the other room. Get 2 kittens, they say. Definitely get 2. Oh my gosh, when will they grow up? When I went looking for the magnets, I looked in the drawer where I stash everything I hide from Zelda. Well, I've been hiding stuff in there for over 2 years. So when I took it out, it was like the glove box that you never clean out in your car. So there was a big cat toy, so I shoved it in the closet. So they have managed to get under there because Eliza saw me put it in there. They had pulled part of the cat toy out and were playing with it. But Zelda will eat it without supervision, so that's why they can't have cat toys alone. On this one, I'm going to change stamps. So say, oh, I've got a great stamp right here. Here we go, Art Impressions. You're going to go, maybe not. Yeah. You're gonna go shopping with all your friends for quilt fabric, and then Noni would color this image in for me. I wouldn't. I got dirt on it. Lint something. If this is my card front, which tells me there's dirt on this stamp. I know. So remember, if you want to be a perfectionist, you can always take these in the kitchen and wash them. But if you're trying to make a video, don't worry about it. So if this is my card front, my panel, I can take clear stamps. This is another reason people love clear stamps, right? And the whole positioner thing. And I can say, okay, I want these ladies like this. And then I want, this one won't fit very well. Let's do Friends Keep You in Stitches. And we have some room right there for it. And I think that would be fun. Or maybe I'd like it a little more square because there's more room that way. So I think I'm gonna put this on here so I know it's straight. And then if I don't like where it is, I'll move it. And then I'm gonna put my ladies like right here. See how that all fits. That's not gonna work. I need to move this one down more on the grid, but I'm using the grid so my sentiment is straight, or as straight as Sarah cares about. Okay, then I'm gonna move these guys up just a hair. I'm sticking the stamps to the top. I'm gonna make sure my paper's set. And because this is a small paper, it's more likely to pull up. So I'm going to tape another section right there. Again, find your magnets. You won't have to. Then I'm going to ink the whole thing. And if you wanted different colors of ink, that's fine. Do them separately. Like if I wanted my sentiment blue, then but I wanted my stamp outline to be black, just do them separately. And I probably wouldn't mix stamps from different brands because they could be different thicknesses, but I'm assuming since these came out of the same package, this will work. I could be wrong. Oh, great example. Okay, so see how we're missing that middle part? I didn't do a good job getting them inked up. If I gave that to, oh, and the Friends. If I gave that to Noni to color for me, she would have a heck of a time, wouldn't she? And these stamps were used, so it's hard to tell if the black was from me today or from another day. And like I said, sometimes your ink pads aren't totally flat, so you might want to use the edge of them, because sometimes they get kind of like a divot in the middle and the edges rise up. And then we just close it. Just close up the ink pad so I don't make a mess. It's a big stamp, so I'm using probably more pressure than I normally would. It's better. It's still not good. This is a great example. I don't know what's going on with the Friends stamp. I wonder if it has a low spot or if I didn't get it pushed on. I don't know what's going on. It seems plenty inky. Okay, I'm gonna ink those guys. But a big stamp like this, especially if it was on a wood block and all this detail, it would be a nightmare, wouldn't it? I'm tired, you guys. It's a long video. Okay. Oh, we're almost there. That lady's hair, we need, where is she? She's over here. And that lady's arm. Okay. Can you hear them clunking in the background? I think they've reached under the door. Oh, her hair, it's right there. I can see it. It could be that my counter is giving a little bit. So I'm going to switch over here for just a second. There we go. Okay, remember how I said this counter isn't supported underneath? It's where my feet go. So it's kind of giving a little when I push on it. Now, this is terrible. We can't use this. This Friends Keep You. I don't know why. I don't know if there's something weird about that stamp or the two of those next to each other. Maybe they were different thicknesses. I don't know. But we have a beautiful image that Noni could color in for me. I don't color, so. I mean, I could color, but that's a lot. What I would probably do is I would cut the panel down. Because I have that and it doesn't work, I would likely fussy cut around this after she colored. So it doesn't matter that I tore a little right here. Now here's the thing. We have the stamp all conditioned and ready. And I have another panel right here, which is probably big enough. Let's see. It's a little short for their heads. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, so now I think there's room over there. Remember how we talked about conditioning a stamp? We did all that work. We have it ready. We might as well stamp a couple more. This is another thing that a stamp positioner is great for. Say you're going to make Christmas cards and you want to make 50 Christmas cards with the same tree. Well, by the time you get that stamp all inked up and you figure out exactly how you want it arranged on your panel and you lay everything out, I'm going to go to the other counter just in case. Then it's much easier to repeat. Look at that. First try, viable. We might want it a little darker there in the middle. It's that same part of the stamp. The other thing too is some people said Tim's positioner wasn't as good. Like it has this foamy, I don't know if it's as good. I don't know. I never really got into the whole which one is better stamp positioner world. But it does have some give. And again, I'm going to go to the other counter. So smooth and very sturdy is key. So see how much faster we got it? Now it's broken in and we could just go bam, bam, bam. And you could make cards for your quilt group. If you don't want to color, yes, maybe you could stamp them on different colored paper and die cut a circle or a rectangle and just have a really cute image on the front, but you can pop them out. There's all sorts of techniques you can do with a stamp positioner that you can't do other ways. The other thing I've seen people do, which I never do, but you could, is they use a piece of paper and the piece of paper has the die cut they're going to use, like this. So they do all their die cutting in advance and then they swap out this piece. This is secured and they just drop their circle down or their oval down and they stamp a bunch. That might have been too complex. Did you follow me? Pretend I've already die cut this and it has an oval cut out of the middle of it. And then this is my template. And then I stamp a whole bunch of things onto oval die cuts and I just keep swapping them out. So I did all my die cutting the day before and then I do my stamping here. I always stamp first and then die cut, but whatever, different techniques. A stamp positioner is more forgiving. This was a really hard stamp. I mean, let me show you too. Let me show you that. It's more forgiving than a stamp block. To stamp with this stamp, it's too big for my two favorite blocks. So I would have to go to this one, which is too big for me to balance it and use it. I think I would be better off putting it up here. Then I would push it on there with something that's not going to leave lint on me. There. And since I don't think this is going to work, I'm going to put it on the copy paper on the counter. And stamping is always better on nicer paper. I mean, maybe not always, but like Michael's construction paper for kids, you're not going to get as clean and smooth of an image as you're going to get on Nina 80-pound solar white super smooth. Like, this is fancy paper. It's probably a little fancy for me. Push. I'm doing everything I can. Ugh. Using all my muscle. Well, that kind of blows my theory. But remember what I said about conditioning it. We spent a long time prepping this stamp today. So, since we did, let's see if I can do 2 good ones in a row. We might as well use it. I don't think I've ever stamped the stamp. There's one where they're in a car, and I think I've used the car one. These are going to have to show up on some cards, even if I don't color them. I mean, we got it out. We used it. Oops, I feel like I might have jiggled. I might have twisted. Oh, we're okay. There we go. So see, that's the difference. Like, a stamp positioner let me try it a couple times. It also helped me get that stamp all conditioned and ready. I'm not going to wash the stamp. I am going to take, there's a lot of lint on it, but I'm not going to wash it. I'm going to let that ink just dry on there. Because this is a stamp I would probably always use black on, or navy blue. I am worn out for now. This is a lot of talking, and my sinuses are bothering me. I hope my voice is okay, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Leave me questions, comments. Were there parts that you got confused at? Those of you who have done this for a while, are there things you want to clarify kindly in the comments? Do you have questions for the next video? What do you think? The other stamp positioners, the Misties, come in like pink, and I think there were some teal and maybe even some black ones that were like specials for different companies sometimes. I think the Memory Keepers or Creative Memories one, you know, it's like teal and white. There's a lot of different kinds. Read the directions. You can almost always go on YouTube and search for the product that you're trying to use and learn about it, right? So you can look for Tim Holtz Tonic Stamp Positioner, or you could look for the Misty Stamp Positioner or whatever. And you can read reviews, and people make videos and say, I have videos where I talk about paper cutters, so you can get different people's opinions. I do not think that I need a full-size one, and I probably wouldn't purchase this item again because it takes up so much room to work, and I'm so messy. Like, I need this much room. Look, you have to zoom out to see it, to work with this effectively. So I probably would have been happier with a smaller one, and I would just cut my paper first, or glue, you know, cut my paper and then glue it onto my scrapbook page, even if I wanted the image, which, let's be honest, I don't stamp on scrapbook pages. Almost never. I probably just thought I needed it. And the funny thing is, at the time, I had the little one, and I gave the little one away. Probably should have kept it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're taking time for crafting and relaxing, and I hope you're enjoying the level of detail in these videos. Bye-bye.